All Mopar, yeah. That's all I know. That's all I'll do. I just don't know anything else. So.
Hemi Cuda? Yeah, this is $1 million. $1 million for this car. 2016, Mecum Auctions. But back in the day, Frank Badalson paid $1,900 for it. He was a junior in college. He drag raced it. He drove it cross country. And today he is the Mopar survival specialist of the world.
My very first car was a 318 two-barrel Barracuda, where my father's buddy had a used car lot in Woodbridge, Virginia. So that summer I got back from military school. It was May of '71. And my father said, "You're going to work. You're not going to be messing around this summer. You've got to go to work. I got you a job." I said, "Okay. So, but you got to drive to D.C. He got me a job with Congressman Anderson in Washington, D.C., working in the Cannon House office building. Mm-hmm. So he said, "You got to have a car because I'm not driving you to Washington every day." So we went to Vince's lot. There were two Mopars sitting there. A 70 Hemi Challenger, mm-hmm. F4 green with a shaker, mm-hmm. then a yellow 70 318 Barracuda. Of course, I knew what this stuff was.
I went in, I asked Vince, can I have the keys to the Hemi Challenger, and he gave them to me. I went out, I started it up, I said, oh man, this would be great if I could swing this. 1970 Hemi Cuda. Automatic, super track pack, original paint, original interior, 7,000 original miles. Original tires are still on. Most of the original exhaust is still on. The original belts, hoses, clamps. I have the original air filter. This, of course, is not it, but we have it. It's in the other shop. We can easily put it on. But as you can see, this original battery cables.
What is the car doing at your restoration facility then?
We were going to put an original H-pipe on it, and we did a few minor repairs.
Okay, so that's to bring it to Survivor for Survivor?
Survivor, that's right, for the Survivor work, right. Now the other thing is the interior of this car is absolutely gorgeous in here. And another pretty unique thing, which they did at Hamtramck only, Hamtramck Assembly, you can see the build sheet has never been taken out from behind the glove box. So I told Vince, this is what I want. And so apparently I went back outside messing with the car, checking it out, making sure it was original, nothing fooled with. So my father came storming out in a couple of minutes, and he started cursing and said, "Oh, you ain't getting that car. Vince says it goes 200 miles an hour and it gets 4 miles per gallon. You're not getting that car."
Okay, so we're going to take this thing for a spin?
We're going to take an original 7,000 mile Hemi Cuda for a spin. It's a unique experience, I assure you. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we're going to be starting a 1970 Hemi Cuda 426 Hemi with hydraulic lifter camshaft. 410 super track pack rear.
That fired up real easy.
Supposed to.
Where do all these myths come from that Hemis are really tough to start and run and all that? What are the myths?
I don't know. I heard that back in the 70s. I said, well, no, Vince doesn't know what he's talking about. This thing doesn't get 4 miles per gallon and it won't go 200. No, hell no, you're not getting that car. And every Hemi I was ever around, every Hemi I ever owned, my first 71 Hemi Cuda, this thing ran like a pussycat. You pull the choke, you turn the key, and it starts. All you got to do is keep it in tune, and don't monkey with it. I was a kid then. I was just in the cars, and I was drawn to Mopars in '68 when the Roadrunner came out. And then my buddies, older buddies, started buying them, and we started going by the dealership all the time, looking at them, and that's just where it grew. I have a full body shop. We do full ground up restorations. It's not here. The body shop is not here. It's off-site. Got a 14,000 square foot full body shop. We've got full restorations going there. I have an engine shop. But my specialty, my preference, my specialty is Survivor. That's what I maintain as my specialty. We do great restorations. I mean, everything receives the same amount of detail as any Survivor, if the customer is willing to go along. But we are known for Survivors, which is why there's so many Survivors here at the shop, and even down at the body shop.
That's an 1,800-mile original Survivor right there. That car was with the original owner until December of 15.
And that's what, a 70?
71 Hemi Challenger, 1,800 original miles. It's one of 59, actually.
Because they just want specialized repairs. The Survivor will come in and say, I just want to do the trunk. So we'll take it in and we'll do the trunk. Or we'll repair the metal behind the wheel wells and blend the paint in and make it look original. And make sure that it's 3 to 4 mils thick or 2.5 mils thick, depending on the car and the paint. So that's what we do with the Survivors. Then, full restorations, we go down to the body shop, you're going to see there's several there.
So this room is mainly, this is where you restore cars here?
Well, this is where I do all the mechanical work, yes.
Okay.
See the two lifts, we got the two lifts here, we got the drive on, and then we got the two post. And then I've got all my tools, presses, you know, we've got our bead blaster, our big compressor. Those are rebuilt leaf springs we've already done, ready for cars. About April of '73, when I met a friend of mine, Guy Spiller, who's still around town today, and we're still buddies. He had advertised in the local trading post a '70 Hemi Cuda. So I sold the brown '73 340 Roadrunner, and then I started going to Guy Spiller's house and checking out the Hemi Cuda, and he let me drive it. And I worked on it a little bit, straightened out a few things, and we basically made a deal. I think it was for $2,500. So I had told my father, and he was mad because I sold the Roadrunner, the '73. So I told my father I found something else, and he said, well, I'm going to come down and look at it. He walked around it, and he saw Hemi Cuda on the shaker. And so he looked at that and stared at it, and he said, Hemi Cuda? What the hell is Hemi Cuda? And I said, that doesn't mean anything. Don't even worry about that. It's nothing. He said, no, this is that Hemi again. You're not getting this car. You're not going to get this car. So I had the Roadrunner for that summer of '73, and then took it back to college. Had that sophomore year. And then through the summer after sophomore year and the first half of junior year, then I sold it, and then I bought the silver '71 Hemi Cuda. It ran beautifully. I got 16, 17 miles per gallon on that trip to California. I can show you, I've got all the records. We kept records of every gas stop and all the mileage from that trip. This is one of my many volumes of engine and numbers tracings. You see, I started doing this back in 1976 when I first became a cop, and we had a class taught by the FBI, and it centered around motorcycle, Harley-Davidson motorcycle fraud. And they taught us how to get these engine numbers and frame numbers off of Harleys. And that sparked me into thinking, man, all these Mopars that I've had my hands on, I need to start checking them and make sure all of that is right. So I just started doing it. So I've got over 40 years worth of this kind of thing. Numbers off of mostly all high performance. I never did anything off of 318s, but just all sort of different engine numbers, trans numbers, and body numbers. I started doing this just on my own, never thinking it's going to be anything, never thinking I'm going to make money on it, never thinking it's going to go anywhere. I did it for my own interest, and I did it for my own education, and I did it for myself to make sure that I don't get taken in any sort of fraud. So here we are 40 years later, this has all become important. And the point of the whole thing is, someone says, oh yeah, I can check numbers, I know how to do that, but if you didn't start a long time ago, it's going to be very difficult to have amassed all of this information that shows you what went on at different times on the assembly line. What cars had to have hand stamps? If they were hand stamps, what are authentic Chrysler hand stamps supposed to look like? What period on the line did they do this kind of thing? So having this amount of information is what helps me authenticate cars, and that's another large part of my business is I do authenticate drivetrains and cars. So this helps me a great deal with that. And by having all of this, we also know all the anomalies that the factory was involved in. And then in 91, I left. A couple of us started our own accident investigation business. We were expert witnesses in court for accident investigation cases.
So how long did it take you to get in the restoration business, and what happened?
Well, the restoration business just sort of morphed from working on the cars and then working on friends' cars, and then you know, we started sort of getting known and, you know, doing some judging, and now we're going back to the 80s now, and so I was still working full-time but doing this kind of thing part-time, and still had the accident reconstruction business. So that just, you know, that just progressed for you know, 10, 15 years. And it got busier and busier. In about 2008, I just got sort of burnt out on the legal system. I had enough of lawyers and depositions, and this business was really growing. So by then, I just said, that's fine. I'm going to retire from that, and I'm just going to do cars full time. Well, this is our parts room, and this is a very small display of the NOS that I have. These are original tires, dated 1969. They're for A12 cars, but this is just a few.
Anything back here?
Same thing back here. Everything here is NOS. There's nothing reproduction back here. I had plenty of part-time business prior to that. That was almost a second full-time job.
So you didn't keep any cars from the old days, any Hemis?
No, I always bought and sold. I liked everything. I've lost count now, but it's well over 90 Mopars that I've owned. Eventually, I've had a little bit of everything. One thing I've never had is a convertible Hemi, but other than that, I've had pretty much anything you could name. Yes, Roger Gibson and I hooked up around the late 80s. We became friends through a tech article that he wrote in a magazine. That's how we actually became friends and connected. So he and I have been in business. We started the parts business around 92, so it's been well over 25 years for the parts business. And he and I have helped each other in restoration work, and, you know, techniques we've developed. Roger's restoration business is Roger Gibson Auto Restoration. My restoration business is American Performance. And our parts business is Auto Restoration Parts Supply. All Mopar, yeah, that's all I know, that's all I'll do. I just don't know anything else, so.
So what are we gonna do here? We're not gonna wrap it up to high RPMs, we're just gonna drive it down the road,
No,
right?
we're gonna take an easy stroll down to a good spot to take some pictures.
In this car, low mileage, original, nothing changed on it, right?
That's right. You want those parking lights on?
Yeah. Have you seen a better looking car, really?
No, it's hard to beat, man. Especially with that rubber bumper, this thing is killer. This is going to be a 69 Hemi Super B. It's an all-stock motor, stock cam. Stock Hemi, stock idle. Solid lifter cam engine. It's a direct drive starter that they used in '69. It's also a super track pack car, and we're going to be shifting at about 3,500. That's a direct drive starter, '69 direct drive starter.